Hello, it is Trader Chat with Johnny Ward and Flynn Goward, and there is only one place to start: the death of the legendary punter, trainer, philanthropist, and so on, Barney Curley. Flynn, you're a little bit young to appreciate, I guess, the genius of this man. Controversial in many ways. Not sure I'd call him a punter's pal. He certainly knew how to make money for himself, but the money that he made, so much was invested for great causes in Africa. He was definitely a fan of the poor, hated bookmakers, wanted to take money off them. And I think the big legacy for him in terms of bookmaking is that since we started Trader Chat not that long ago, we've probably had 3 or 4 Trader Chats where we discussed an ongoing or recently transpired betting coup. And Barney Curley is responsible for an awful lot of that. Yellow Sam, the accumulator that he pulled off, and all these things prompted copycats to think, how can I do it? How can I do it better? Although nobody probably ever did it better than Barney Curley.
Yeah, of course, and like you say, with the kind of recent gambles that we have seen, he's kind of paved the way as such, and he's kind of made it realistic and that it can be done. And that's why I think that you are seeing a lot more gambles these days, or supposed gambles. We obviously know that some are more real than others, but just showing that it can be done. And obviously the methods he used, I'm not saying that it's kind of great for racing, because it isn't, in the fact that a lot of the horses wouldn't have been trying, and then they obviously were. But he kind of came out and said that, and back in the day, would kind of come out and say that I don't earn much from doing this. The way that I make it pay is through the gambling side of things. So at least he was kind of upfront about it in that way. And the stuff that he's obviously done for charity is amazing as well. So rest in peace to Barney Curley. And I know that he was a huge kind of icon out there, a punter's icon. I've spent many a night with kind of Simon Knott and going to bars, and we've been to Ireland and stuff like that, and he would kind of wax lyrical about Barney Curley, and I wanted to set up a betting people interview, which unfortunately we didn't kind of get around to doing. He's quite a private person, Barney Curley, but he kind of idolised him, so he obviously had that effect on people. And I'm sure that we'll see a lot of kind of gambles and attempted gambles in the future that he's kind of paved the way for. So sad news to kind of start Trader Chat, but kind of celebrate the life and the person that was Barney Curley.
Yeah, and the Yellow Sam was in the 70s, and then we saw D for Dave winning at Kilbeggan all those years later with practically the exact same execution method of going to a load of shops and betting the horse close to the off, the exact same amount. And Dougie Taylor, who pulled that coup off, he utilized a lot of foreigners because he didn't have enough respect for Irish people, that they wouldn't spill the beans, or effectively, I suppose, just rush the gun. And all these things have to be pulled off to for proper execution, I guess. But just reading back the Racing Post from the vaults this morning, some of the articles about him, I think one of the things I took from it, and a lot of people listening in and watching us this morning will have lost money over the weekend, or the punting isn't going quite as well as it could be this year. Barney Curley was on his knees when he pulled off the Yellow Sand gamble. He relied on Sean Graham, one of the true legends of the Irish bookmaking game. I think he was down 30 grand to Sean Graham at the time. He owed him a substantial sum of money. Barney said Sean Graham, he told him of the plans. Almost nobody knew of his plans with Yellow Sam, but he owed Sean Graham money, and he basically said, I'm not going to do anything in your shops. And Sean gave him an out. And I guess, without kind of getting too much into it, even the best don't always, it takes time for it to work out. And Barney Curley was struggling. He wasn't making money at the time.
Yeah, and kind of look no further than Ben Keefe. I'm sure that Ben would have this conversation, and you'll see in his interviews that he didn't get a lot of this right the first time. I'm sure he'll tell you now he's not got it right yet. He's still striving for more, but he kind of had his kind of down times where he kind of needed to regroup and go again. And I'm sure that I guess in the punter game and in life in general, you learn from going to the world, don't you? To learning from your mistakes, and that's the most important thing, I think. And like you said, Barney Curley's obviously been in that place where he was at the bottom, and kind of learned through those mistakes that he probably made in the past, how to make it right, and that's why he became successful. And I think that that's a strain that a lot of successful people probably have, and kind of relates to kind of Ben and his story with Star Sports as well. And I'm sure it's a lot of punters down the land learn from their mistakes and then go again.
I think as well with respect to bookmakers, bookmakers can benefit from these gambles to some extent in that there's a lot of publicity. A lot of people follow them in as well. We spoke about the bogus Ian Jardine trained gamble there a couple of Mondays ago, which was clearly not a thing at all. But people would have followed that in and lost money on it. Just because they want to be part of it, they think there might be some sort of a coup involved. And I guess in those days, if they used to say you never see a poor bookmaker, that's not really the case anymore. The on-course bookmakers, they're not making fortunes by any means. A lot of them are struggling because of the internet age and so on and so forth. But if one were to say, Barney Curley sending money to Africa that he won from these bookmakers who had fortunes and fortunes of money, and even the Yellow Sam coup, it was spread across Ireland. I think good prevailed over evil in the overall scheme of things, in that bookmakers gave money back to society, which effectively then down the line went to other people, notably poor people in Africa. And if the bookmaker is absolutely loaded beyond belief, I don't have a major issue with pulling off a coup.
Yeah, of course. And I think that when you look at bookmakers nowadays, when you speak about you never see a poor bookmaker, I think that there's such there's extremes. Like you get to your 365s and your kind of behemoths of the game, and they've got
Star Sports.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite there yet. Although Ben will want to get there at some point. When you look at your
not after the Eurovision, anyway.
Yeah, true. There's such high turnover and such huge volume of customers that it kind of just floods in. I'm not saying that obviously they've earned it and they built it, but you do see kind of in independent bookmakers really struggling. So you see when you look at BetBright, when you look at SunBet. You see these Black Types, another one. When you see these kind of firms start up, they offer the concessions, they want to go on odds checker. It just kind of falls flat on its face. Whereas Ben would kind of say, well, I'm going to do my own thing over here. I know what I'm good at. I'm not going to go on odds checker. I'm going to advertise like I lay a good bet. I want to lay a good bet at the right time. His kind of mantra would be, which I think he got from Tony Morris, would be lay as much as you can, as cheaply as you can, as late as you can. He did a kind of 10 tips to bookmaking, and that was in there. But that would be his kind of mantra. But a lot of bookmakers kind of go out and want to be the 365, but they don't have the pull that 365 have. They don't have the algorithms, the weight of money behind them that they have, and then they kind of fall flat on their face. But in terms of bookmakers, you do see a poor bookmaker, but you probably just don't see them anymore because they go into a different profession. But
that's a very good point. Very good point. Well,
it's kind of changed a huge amount, but I do completely get your point and do agree with you that the good did kind of outweigh the bad with him, and the money come from the bookmakers has probably gone to very, very good places. So rest in peace, Barney Curley, and I'm sure his legacy will live on amongst many a punter.
Absolutely. Let's chat to Curragh at the weekend. We had I actually managed to back the winner of both Guineas, which was quite remarkable. Got kind of negative word for Pretty Gorgeous yesterday, so went against her and was kind of trying to figure out what's going to handle the ground here. Now, this is as fluky as it gets. You back the winner of both Guineas, both winning by a short head. So I'll take that. Obviously, plenty of bad luck along the way. My football bets Friday night, for example. But the Max Sweeney was just a question of well, this will handle the ground. To be honest, I thought racing would be called off. There was so much rain on Thursday night and going into Friday. Thankfully, it didn't, and I had a good weekend. But how was it for the firm?
So only one place start, and that's the Irish 2000 Guineas. Obviously, you just mentioned Max Sweeney there. So Jim Bolger 1-2, taking the race narrowly at 8-1. There was a small winner in the race for us, so pretty decent stuff. We laid Van Gogh, as I was trying to say in the office the other day, heavily each way at 5-1. Was over £500,000 loser in the book, Van Gogh. So we really, really needed that one beat, or out the boxes, even better. Came third, so the punters got their money back there. Obviously a fifth free places, so got the money back on that one, which meant that Mazzini was just a small winner in the race for us. Shortened into 7-1 from 16-1 for the Derby, Max Sweeney. No real support for him after the race. There was no kind of buzz like we saw with Bolger Ballet or when High Definition ran. There was no kind of buzz about Max Sweeney. Poetic Flair, who finished tight second, shortened into 130 for the St James Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot. I saw Jim Bolger on Luck on Sunday saying that he'll likely go there. Didn't want to really confirm it, but essentially said he's going to stick to a mile and go to the St James Palace. So he's 130. I think he's second into St Mark's Basilica in the race. So the kind of Royal Ascot races are really taking shape now. I think it's going to be a great Royal Ascot this year. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is completely bonkers as well when you think that he ran the horse in 3 classics in such a short space of time. And if he'd won in France, you could have said, well, you're a bit like Finch Gilbio, you're trying to get history here. But the horse was a shade disappointing in France. Still turned up and ran a blinder, ran about a bit under pressure. But it's just, he's such an unconventional way of training horses at the top level. It almost makes you just think, like, what was John Ox doing all along, running them so sparingly? Henrietta Knight, Rappin, Best Mate, and Cotton Bull and all that, when you can basically run a horse in 3 classics in the space of a few weeks and nearly win the 3 of them.
Didn't go too bad for Henrietta Knight, though, I would say. So, and obviously Willie Mullins is following that kind of tack now, isn't he? It might work different over jumps in the way that they're taxed differently. I don't know. But yeah, it is good to see a different way of training, and it's not just a real conventional way of getting them out.
And he won, Rory Cleary wins a classic then as well, who would never have a good ride in a classic, ends up winning on the supposed second string. So it's just, I thought it was a great result for the game in many respects.
Yeah, completely agree there. And Twitter was kind of saying the same thing, wasn't it? It was a Rory Cleary loving show on Twitter. In terms of Curragh the Saturday, in terms of the other races, just one more to touch on would be the Group 3 Marble Hill Stakes. As we laid the entertainer in the race 3-1. Castle Star travelled supremely well on the outside, didn't he? Just came there like a travelling thing and got the job done at 5-2. And there was a real bad passage, was it from Missetto, who shortened right up before the off. He got a real bad passage, but I would imagine that they're going to reface each other when they get to Royal Ascot in the Coventry. Castle Star's now second favourite for the Coventry, Royal Ascot at 15-2, and Missetto is 14-1 for the same race. So if you think Missetto can turn the tables there, he's a big price. I'm
reading my phone here because you still haven't mentioned it. 2:38 yesterday. Not late Broom. 2:38 yesterday. You watch it get beat. 2:43 yesterday. I actually can't really too much expletives in that. So obviously Broom has been a terrible loss for the firm after his last couple of wins. I think in particular couldn't see him beat Justin myself, to be honest. Beat Helvic Dream quite readily the time before. Didn't lay him. Obviously Star Sports. What happened?
Unbelievable, mate. I mean, this is the bogey horse of Star Sports. I texted head of trading yesterday saying, Broom runs today. What do you think? I was thinking when he steps up into a Group 1, he's been winning these kind of Group 2s, Group 3s, kind of easier races and really short odds. We've played him heavily both times, done our absolute conkers. And then I'm thinking today, it's just going to happen. When we don't lay him, he'll get beat. Today, stepping up to that Group 1, didn't lay him. I think he was just slightly odds against, off the top of my head. Didn't lay him and then just got chinned on the line. It was a photo finish, won by Helvic Dream. I was cursing him come to line, and I was actually testing you cursing as well. It was terrible. As we laid him big both in his last runs. So typical result was an average result in the book. Obviously, getting the favourite beat, we did cop small in the book, but wasn't what we thought it might be. But that's just Broom for you. The other race on Sunday, obviously the Irish £1 Guineas, the big one there. Miss Ambulay was the big loser for us in the book, but obviously didn't come anywhere, which was great for us. Along with Pretty Gorgeous, who you're saying you obviously got a word for that she wasn't going to be up to the task potentially. Travelled really well and then just didn't find much, did she? Pretty Gorgeous. We didn't lay the winner, so it was a great result for us. She was actually quite impressive, I thought, and really strong at the finish. Was quite a big price in the run. Yeah,
she's a sister to Minding. I just chanced her on the basis that she had won on soft ground, and negative on Miss Amulet's prospects a hand in the ground. I think she's definitely not one to give up on. And there was just a bit of word that, obviously there were doubts about Pretty Gorgeous because she didn't run at Newmarket. But then when you went through the race, it was just some bookmakers paying 5 places. It was just riddled with horses that probably weren't going to win. And it was like there was a lot of rain yesterday, so it did get pretty testing at the Curragh. But it was a strange one. I mean, I think the way the race panned out for the winner, she's actually quite good because she got herself into a pocket. She didn't have a lot of cover out wide and gave it to the misses as well with a tenner each way at 25s.
Oh, lovely. Where's she going to go now? Do we know? I couldn't find her in many ante-post.
The misses?
No. Hopefully she's staying. But in terms of Empress Josephine.
Where's Empress Josephine? He said after race that she'll likely stick at a mile. So the Oaks doesn't look to be on the cards anyway. So... I don't know. In fact, he was...
Coronation? Maybe?
Yeah, you'd imagine that'd be the plan. He actually seemed quite insistent in terms of, like he was talking to RT and he said, I don't think this horse is going to be going much further than a mile.
Okay, I can't see her in the betting at the moment for the Coronation. We have got Joan of Arc in there, who is obviously a runner here at 7-1. I'll have a look at getting Empress Josephine in there if she's going to potentially go to Coronation.
I think she could be, one for the matron in Leopardstown later in the season. I think she could be a horse that improves a good bit because she's only had 3 runs and that was just a very good performance. It wasn't a classic by any means, renewal of the race, but I like the way she did it. I think she has the pedigree to do better. And the way she did it yesterday, I think she could be very good in time.
I think you could be right, because when you look at the Coronation Stakes, they've already got the favourite with Mother Earth, then you go Pretty Gorgeous, and then you've got Santa Barbara's in there, Joan of Arc, so they've got loads of kind of options. So they might kind of stay on the Irish side of the border and just go for a prize over there. Just in terms of racing over this side of the water, on Saturday we had Goodwood and Haydock. Just want to spin for a couple of results there. We got some anti-post movers. Starting with Goodwood, Floater's got favourite backers off to a flying start there, winning the 105. Won really well at 74. It's worth a watch this race. Go back and find it on Twitter, on Racing TV Twitter. Really impressive. It was really keen early and then just saw the race out beautifully. Went favourite for the Albany at Royal Ascot in at 5-1. Like I say, definitely give that performance a watch. That was a bad result in the book for us, to be the first favourite of the day. The second listed race at Goodwood was run by Hookham at 5-6. We laid it pretty heavily at 5-6 just before the off, so it wasn't a good result there. So two bad results at Goodwood. And the other listed race on the card at Goodwood was better result. Stormy Antarctic beating Desert Encounter home there. Desert Encounter was the well-backed horse in the race. Again, him chinned was a decent result, but we still lost at Goodwood, as we always do. Impossible to win at Goodwood. The bookies tend to call it Badwood when we actually go there, because the favourites just tend to win across the card. Haydock, we had a couple of group races on the card here. Rohan won the Sandy Lane at 33-1. Unsurprisingly, a great result for us. He was actually tipped up by a few people on ITV, so fair play to the tipsters on ITV. I think Leone and they're putting him up at 33-1, so fair play to her. Mujbar would have been the worst result in the race, but he was out of the box, so that was fine. We did see a fair bit of action in the Temple Stakes, mainly for Keep Busy at 9-4 and Liberty Beach at 7-4. Liberty Beach was the better of the two results, but still a loser in the book. And Liberty Beach is now 9-1 for the King's Stand, Royal Ascot, where she'll likely take on Batash. So it's a real hot race this year, the King's Stand, when we get to Royal Ascot. And like I say, these races are Royal Ascot. It's only a few weeks away now. Obviously, we've got Epsom first and then Royal Ascot, which is when we'll be back on track for the first time, hopefully.
And people will be there.
Yeah, so looking to get 4,000. There's been a lot of conversation about why is it only going to be 4,000. I do understand that. It's kind of just obviously guidance from the government, etc. But I do understand the kind of frustration of why there aren't more books being allowed in. But I think that we're just about going to get a run at Royal Ascot, so we shall be there. I did try the morning suit on the other day. I've put on a few pounds since last year, Johnny, so it's a bit of a squeeze.
This is the missus.
Yeah, true. She's pregnant rather than actually just putting on weight like I have. So,
well, let's be honest. You were texting me Saturday night, getting the IPAs into you. You know, you did a bet on Eurovision, Finland, even though you kind of dismissed your colleague Jordan earlier in the week for tipping up this nonsense. But of course, you got involved, and briefly, Finland had come in and halved in price thereabouts before it all went P-tong.
They did indeed, and after cursing Eurovision, I actually quite enjoyed it. But I think that was probably the beer in me rather than the actual show on the TV. Obviously, a lot of controversy about Italy with the narcotic activity on the screen, which is pretty embarrassing for them. But Italy went on to win the event with their hard rock song.
There was narcotic activity on the screen. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Have you not been onto Twitter and seen the? I'll send you a link afterwards.
Not on social media.
Oh yeah, of course you're not. I'll ping it to you afterwards. So
yeah,
they're in a bit of controversy back in the home of Italy. Anyway, they were a small winner in the book for us. France came second, Switzerland third, and Iceland fourth. Iceland were probably the bit of a surprise, and they're around the 12-1 mark. They actually weren't a great result for the places, Iceland, so it meant that we didn't do great on the places, but we won on the event overall.
The amount of fruitcakes, just in my punting group, who were not only had bet on this one, were heavily invested the whole weekend. I mean, were people actually betting this with Star Sports?
Yeah, they were. It was really, really, really popular. I couldn't believe the amount of money in the machine for it. There was about, I think when I last looked, and there was probably more after, there was about 4 million quid in the market. So a lot of money was in the kind of Eurovision market. It's a huge betting heat. I kind of watched it and couldn't believe it, but it's obviously a huge event across the world, so or across Europe anyway. The main losers for us would have been Latvia, but they didn't actually qualify, and Malta, who ended up being out of the boxes with a poor result in the televote. Don't ask Jordan about Malta. If you do call up with
a lot of talk about Malta, yeah. I got lots of texts about Malta this weekend. So obviously they were fancied.
Yeah, they were. Jordan was all over them. They were about 7-2 anti-post, and then they kind of drifted when they got the draw. I think they were out 8th or 6th, and you tend not to win from that type of draw, apparently. So they did really, really poorly in the televote, and they only got about 48.
It's the Chester Cup here, but we're actually on with the Eurovision.
Yeah, exactly. I think I actually likened it when I was speaking to one of our traders. Is it like being drawn 10 at Chester? And they said it's worse.
This is why Flynn. This is why you and I have so much harmony and chemistry. It really is unbelievable. It's why Trader Chat is off the charts in terms of numbers every week.
Flying. So thank goodness it's over. To be honest with you, although we did win on the event, as exciting as it was. So I guess we can talk a bit of golf now because I was watching Philly Mick.
Yeah, again, the punter group was full of chat. Big Phil, and so on and so forth. What did you lay?
So we didn't like Phil Mickelson. Hardly anyone found him at about the 250 to 1 mark. And what a performance from him.
250s?
Yeah, he was huge. He was a huge.
Oh my God. He was
about 500 on Betfair before the off. He seems to have found a bit of a breakthrough. I watched his interview last night and he talks about his breathing, staying calm, staying in the present, in the moment. I don't think people realise how hard golf actually is mentally. It is really tough.
Ask Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, ask any of them, to be honest. But he seems to have found a breakthrough. He's not getting too ahead of himself, not going mad. He seems to have this like thumbs up thing that he does, like after hitting a shot or a good shot, that just says, "Okay, that's my sports psychology thing to say that I've acknowledged it and now I move on to the next shot." Really controlling his breathing. He was really impressive. To be fair, no one else came to get him, and they kind of handed it to him. But shooting a 1-over round when you're going into lead in a major, of course, as difficult as that is, pretty impressive stuff. So it will be really exciting to see where he goes from here and how he goes on and if he goes on to win more. But we didn't lay him in the book. In terms of the anti-post book, we needed the significant Louis Oosthuizen beat along with Casey. Louis Oosthuizen was 5 to 1 going into the final round, and he did put up a brief challenge. He had an eagle putt which he just missed, and he would have got within 1, I think, if he held that. So it would have been interesting. I think he was about the 8 to 1 mark before that, but then he missed that putt and went bigger. In the pre-event book, Rory McIlroy was by far the biggest loser. After that was Jordan Spieth, John Rahm, Tony Finau, and Hatton, but they were kind of all out of the running. I think Finau would have been the closest to any of them, finishing just under par. So a great result for us in the book with Phil Mickelson. Fantastic watch, fantastic sport. To see that he can do it, and it will be exciting to see if he can go on to the US Open, which is actually only in about 23 days' time. I think the US Open at Torrey Pines, I think it's at. So we'll have lots of offers on site for the US Open. These majors will come thick and fast now, and then we've also got the Ryder Cup at the end of the year. So exciting stuff in terms of golf.
Notwithstanding that the playoffs are still going on, Champions League and so forth, the football season is kind of over, and it's obviously the crappiest football season ever because basically, notwithstanding the fact that the title race was non-existent in the end, the battle for relegation was basically dead and out of the realms of any kind of debate for a long time. Then there was a little bit of a battle for the top 4, which is great, but you shouldn't really be getting excited about who finishes 4th, but mainly because there were no crowds right up until the end when there were some people at it. Anyway, it's all over. Crappiest football season ever. How was it for Star Sports?
So lovely lead in there, Johnny. Lovely, enthusiastic.
Yeah. Monday morning, yeah.
Love to see it. So we obviously had a settlement of quite a few markets over the weekend. So we had a lot of accumulators actually waiting on Bournemouth to be promoted. So
wow.
So Brentford knocking them out was the result of the weekend for us, to be honest. Although we did lay Brentford in the singles, so we were kind of watching the TV thinking, well, we're in a kind of lose-lose situation. We do our money in the match winner market, or we get these kind of accumulators knocked out, and that seems to be what happened when they won 3-1 Brentford. Mad defending from Brentford to start with, and even a mad and red card for Bournemouth. It was just a crazy game, great to watch. So it was good to get those accumulators knocked out. Leicester finishing outside the top 4 was a great result as well. We laid them for top 4 finish. Lille won the league in France, which meant that the PSG bets were down. So it was a great week on the football front with the markets. And now it's all about the Euros. So I'll just give you a quick update in terms of the Euros betting. So France 9-2, England 5-1, Belgium 6s, 15-2 Germany, 15-2 Spain, and then 8-bar Portugal 8-1. There might be a bit of a juicy price.
Do we have an update on the Harry Kane market, actually, just as a matter of interest? He's going to be absolutely critical to England's success. I'm just going to keep talking here to give you time to suggest.
No, fine, I've got it.
You have got it. So,
yeah.
I think he played a round of golf with Gary Neville or something the other day.
He did. Yeah, he did. It was on Gary Neville. I haven't actually watched it. It was on Gary Neville's new YouTube channel called The Overlap. So that's worth a watch. Harry Kane, so in terms of where he's going to be at the end of the summer transfer window, Man City 11-10, Spurs 7-4. We've clipped in United into 11-4.
I think that's the value. I don't really see him going to Man City. I think he will leave Spurs. Man United will be all over him. 11-4 would be a good commercial move for them. It's obviously going to cost a bit of buns, but 11-4, yeah, I could see that shortening further.
Yeah, there you go. So 11-4 is there on site if you just go to the outrights there. Then with 12 bar then. So it looks like a free run heap. You're thinking Spurs aren't going to be a runner, so you can pay the 11-10 and the 11-4 there. So that's where we're at with Harry Kane. We've also got, for the Euros, we've got all the group winners. We've got all to qualifiers for the groups. We've got the top goal scorer, which Harry Kane's actually favourite for at 11-2. We're also going to have lots of different specials. You know, we like to do the handicap markets. We like to do goal scoring pairs, etc. We're going to have that up, I think, towards the back end of this week when we know what the squad's going to look like. So do keep an eye on the site for any more kind of football specials, which will be coming your way for the Euros at the back end of this week.
Let's finish up with Formula One.
Yeah, very, very briefly, a bit of a drama in the Monaco Grand Prix, but it was all before the race, because the race was actually pretty tame itself. Before the race, Leclerc couldn't get his car to start or work, so he was on pole position after his kind of mad qualifying session where he took pole and then he crashed his car so nobody else could kind of do a quicker time to overtake him, but he didn't actually make it to the grid. We laid for Verstappen. He was the biggest loser, so Leclerc not making it to start was not in our favour. So not a great result in the F1 there, but to be honest, we had a good week last week. We've actually had a good couple of weeks now, so we're riding on a bit of a high, but like we know, we never get too ahead of ourselves, because in this game it can change just like that.
Yeah, and Ballon Robe this evening, maybe somebody's trying to pull off a coup. Who knows? I mean, I was thinking, it's been in my head like the last few months. How would you pull off something like, you know, getting 4 horses to win for different trainers at different tracks in the one day, all this stuff? And for that, we have to thank Barney Curley, I think, in many respects, because he was an innovator at a time when bookmakers basically it was much, much easier for them to make money, be it at the track or be it in the shops, before the days of online, before the days of race replays, for the days of odds checker and all these things that really, you know, are great help to the punter. Barney Curley was a true innovator, and we will dedicate this show to Barney Curley. Although I am minded of Trigger in Only Fools and Horses, who, of course, the famous story about his broom. He did say, look after your broom, but Broom has not been looking after Star Sports at all, Flynn.
He certainly has not.
Have a good week.
You too, mate.